All right, everybody. We're back here. We downtown. We're back in the studio.
Yes, sir.
We took a little hiatus from the studio for a while, man. We were just doing this at the dog pound at the house.
Back where we started.
Yeah, back in the shed. And it's great, don't get me wrong, but being able to sit in here, air conditioning, got my little fan and all my mics and all that, dude, it's all right. I like it. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But we got a guest with us tonight, and I've known him for a little while. I finally got his name right. I've called his name a few times on the podcast, and I always call him something else. And but he's one of those guys that he's undeniably the nicest guy that I've probably ever met in my life, and just all around super great guy. Now, he's got good dogs. He hunts hard, but I think a lot of that's because, you know, his wife makes him do it. She makes him do it is what it is. So without further ado, my partner right here, Mr. Connor. So
yes, sir.
Tell him who you are and what you do and what's happening.
All right. My name's Connor Edwards. I live probably 30 minutes west of Jacksonville, Florida. Puts me probably a mile and a half from the state line from my driveway. So I live like right on the South Georgia, North Florida state line.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much just run hog dogs. I know my partner, the other half, as y'all call it, the Gallberry Boys, Cody was on here, and he does he does got some fine dogs that'll run both bear and hogs. But my dogs mainly just run hogs. I'll every now and again try to pack them in there to a bear, but they ain't really too fond of it. But I do the same thing Ryan does, work at the fire department, and try to hunt as much as I possibly can.
Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. So
yes, sir.
What kind of dogs do you have? What breed of dogs and what style of dog?
Man, I kind of got a hodgepodge, really. I got my oldest male dog, the dog that I have had the longest is what I'd call a Florida cur. I guess every older gentleman that I've ever talked to, the only information I ever got on him was told to me by an old cow farmer back in the day, and he told me that he was what he called a Florida cur. From what I was told by most of the old timers around here, the Florida curs were like a red bone bulldog cross.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate that is.
That's the same thing that I was told. Same exact thing.
That's what I've always heard. But I mean, you know, dog breeds and things get thrown in there and crosses are made and everything like that. So, and then I got a red bone bulldog cross. That's my main gyp dog. And then I've got two puppies off of those two. I got some dogs that I really don't have any information on, or not very, very much. You guys might actually know a little bit about them out y'all's way, but they're called Melman Cur Dogs. They're from Texas. I guess two brothers, last name Melman.
Yeah.
Have been breeding dogs for a pretty long time. And I got a half Melman Cur and half blackmouth cur, and then a full Melman Cur. And that's it. Well, then I got a bulldog. It's actually one of the raffle puppies from the Diamond B Kennels dog.
How are you liking that pup, those bulldog pups from him?
Oh man, he's awesome. Cody's got the lift mate brother to mine.
Yeah,
and they are both phenomenal bulldogs. I don't have a bad thing to say about them. We can put them in the boxes together. And they don't bother one another. We can have them around caught hogs together, and they don't bother each other. Have them around other dominant male dogs.
That's awesome because I know Adam. Not super well, but I know him. I've talked with him quite a few times. We're gonna try to get him on pretty soon. Talk some bulldogs, and
yes.
and the bloodlines that he has were generally for it's game dogs.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah.
And I love a good game dog, and we were talking about this yesterday. Me and Rusty made sure we were talking about it yesterday or day before yesterday about having these real tight bred dogs, these real hot dogs that are off of stuff like that. And then when you get them, I think it has a lot to do with the exposure and how you treat them. Don't treat them like a game dog. Treat them like every other dog.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what
Yes.
I think works. So, I mean, does that hold pretty true with the way you guys have done yours?
So I actually talked to one of my buddies, and he had a few game dogs well before I did, and he told me the best thing that he's found to do is he raised them inside, and just spent, to where he can spend a whole lot more time around them and a whole lot more time with them for the first like 4 to 6 months, and against probably what most folks listening to these podcasts would agree with. My catch dog's actually in the living room right now on the couch.
Dude, you can't do that.
What
are you doing?
Yes,
that
sir.
Dog is
yes,
never
sir.
going to catch a hog.
Yes, sir.
Do you pet your hunting dog? Do you?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God! No wonder you can't. No wonder you only caught a 275 with 3 inches this morning. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just
yes,
imagine
sir.
what you could do.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I always make the joke that he's my wife's dog. Whenever he's not my hunting dog, he's her dog.
Well,
we'll probably get done with this, and I'll walk in there, and he'll be curled up next to her.
That's right. I got my wife one years and years and years ago. The very first bait pen I ever went to, I got a little pup named Lily. I did not want that dog. I wanted her brother. He was a big old buckskin, black mask, looked like a sharp black-mouthed cur, but he's just all bulldog. Well, this little red one come out there. She was a solid color, had just a little touch of white on her chest, and she was just kind of the most plain-looking thing. And she come out there, grabbed a hold of my pants leg and went to shaking on it. And every step I took, she took. And when I'd stop, she would stop and sit beside me. And the guy, Terry Clay Akers, he told me, he said, looks like she picked you. And I said, I don't want this one. And so I got her for my wife. That's what I said. I said, well, I'll get it. Kelly loved her. And let me tell you something. That dog right there, I don't know that I've ever had anything of that caliber in my life again. She slept in the bed with me all the time. She stayed at home with my wife when we weren't hunting. And like you said, having a good bulldog, I really think that the more time you spend with them, the more you keep them in the house around the wife and the kids and all the socialization, it seems like the better they work for you.
Oh, 100%.
I really do. I finally lost her year before last at 15 years old.
Dang.
And she caught many, 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 many hogs. I got in trouble a couple of times by taking her when I wasn't supposed to. And she got, took a little bit of a beating on one or two or 12. And, so in one night she got poked up pretty good, and we were in Mississippi, and my wife, she said, hey, did you take Lily? I said, yeah. She said, did she catch that big hog y'all had on there today? I said, yeah. I said, well, she got a couple pokes. About an hour and a half later, I got a call. She said, meet me at Dollar General in Columbus.
Oh, man.
Dude, she had left Alabama and drove. She was almost there. I was like, oh. I looked at everybody. I was like, which honestly, it was for the best. Brought Lily home, got her cleaned up real good, babied her. She was good to go. But after that, I was cut off. I couldn't take her no more.
We'll be back after a quick break.
We would like to interrupt this episode to take a moment to thank our sponsors and friends of Dixie Doggers Podcast. Southern Cross Cut Gear, Boars N Broads, Hardcore Hog Dogs and Cut Gear, Showtime Premium Pet Food, Animal Housing Solutions, Tuskers Magazine, American Doghorn Association, 4L Kennels, Hogbang.com, The Boar's Nest, Crockett Taxidermy, Mud Creek Hog Baying. A big shout out to all those people and companies who help make us who we are. Thank y'all.
I think if he ever gets beat up too bad, Jasmine, my wife, she'll probably shut that operation down.
That's what I was thinking to say. You better get you a standby, because the inevitable, it could happen, and then again it might not be the inevitable, but there's always a chance that something could happen, and once you get that much time and attention into a dog, to me, it's just, I'd rather just let them lay on the couch and just keep putting them out there if they get, got hurt pretty bad.
Yes, sir. So. Yeah, he's earned his keep so far. He's done really well. I think they turned 2 this past November, so they're still pretty young. But
so for all the listeners out there, if they're looking into getting that style of bulldog, they need to hook up with Diamond B Kennels.
Yes, sir, Mr. Adam Blaylock.
Yeah, he has some fine dogs.
He's got the right recipe too. I think he's like you said, he's kind of got a little bit more hot stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of crossed with some stuff that is more temperamental around. Yeah, or I say temperamental, more tolerable around dogs and dog boxes and things of that nature.
What are these dogs weighing that you've got?
I would say that Preacher probably weighs 45 pounds.
Okay, that's just right. That's what I like. Yeah. We've got some that are a little smaller.
Yeah.
We got some with this last group that we got from TK Hog Dogs and Timothy and Alexis Kling. Mm-hmm. And they have some very good, the bloodline's very good. I noticed though, and I thank the world of Tim. I went down there and hung out with him, talked with him. We stayed down there. Man, they treated us just like we were family. I mean, every dog on that yard was just phenomenal. I mean, I would have took anything that he had.
That's some good looking ones.
Yeah, and I've seen them catch a little flack here and there, and I've seen people talk trash. You know how that goes. But I promise you, the ones that we've got, they're fixing to go into rotation by the end of summer.
Yeah,
and
they're a little over 7 months old.
Yeah,
now.
People will see what we're talking about, like you said. So
yes,
that's another good location. But I've been really curious on something from Adam.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think you can ever have too many bulldogs.
Not
good bulldogs. I love them.
I will say, Cody's his bulldog is on a chain, and his is a little bit bigger than mine. Naturally being on that chain and stuff.
Yeah.
I would say that Cody's is probably at least 10 pounds or so heavier than mine.
Yeah.
45 is just me ballparking it, but
yeah, I got you.
A little bigger, a little smaller, but
all
around.
Go ahead. I told you you're gonna have to cut me off on some of this stuff, Connor. You just got to interrupt and start talking to me.
Get in there.
All over. I mean, as a whole, they are really good bulldogs, man. I would definitely go back to Adam, and have debated it about possibly getting a female from him.
Yeah.
But
no. He knows his stuff on these dogs too. Like I said, I've talked with him about bloodlines and breedings and lineages and stuff at Hickory Crossings a couple different times. And like I said, I was impressed on the knowledge that he had, just the overall knowledge, not just on his stuff, but just the overall knowledge.
Yes, sir.
So it's so how did you even get into running these dogs?
So I actually hadn't been hog hunting. I hadn't had my own hog dogs, but for I guess probably 4 years now.
Okay.
And I was raised around like deer dogs, fox pen, coyote dog, like stuff of that nature.
Yes.
My whole childhood coming up, I guess I actually sat down earlier and was trying to figure out how long ago that was. I think my dad had deer dogs and the pen dogs up until probably I was 14 or 15. And then he kind of faded out, got out of it a little bit. I think at one point he had 70 some odd dogs. So, I mean, I was always around a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
But I never really cared to pursue it myself. I mean, I was still young then and didn't really appreciate dogs and what it meant to have, hunting dogs or working dogs when I was that young. So
yeah.
I took a few years. I took a few years. I wasn't around working dogs and hunting dogs for a few years. I graduated high school, and I guess it was, like I say, probably four more years ago, just over 4 years, that I started getting my own dogs. And matter of fact,
high school.
What's that?
What'd you say? You said you graduated high school?
When I graduated high school, I guess it was a few years after that.
Oh, I thought you said you just graduated high school 4 years ago.
No,
That's
no.
why I was like, what? I misunderstood all that. I was like,
No,
whoa,
no, sir,
wait
no,
a minute.
no, sir.
I was
No,
like,
sir.
I'm a
I
lot
probably,
younger than I even thought.
I probably tied the sentence all together into
No,
one.
that's just me because I'm old and the Alzheimer's is kicking in.
I hear you. I hear you. But yes, I started rounding me up a few dogs, and fortunately, I've still got the dog I was actually telling y'all about before we started recording. The main gyp dog of mine, Izzy, was one of my first dogs that I got, and fortunately, she worked out really well and is a pretty good dog, and has made the cut up to now. So I've raised her to this point, and I got a few more rounded up that I felt made the cut, keep feeding, and
yeah,
kind of kept going from here.
Gotcha.
So how'd you get introduced to the hog dogs?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I had a couple friends from high school that was running a few hog dogs, and I had some hogs on a deer camp. I was still hunting and deer hunting and things that bow hunting, stuff like that. Even when I wasn't around like hunting dogs and working dogs. And I had a few hogs on camera, and I had seen that they had been running some hog dogs, and I invited them out to come run a few of them one time. It was on some private property that my family has, and they come out and run it, and I was like, this is my thing right here. Like, I don't even got a dog in the fight. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, man, this can only get better if you've got a reason to do it. You know, you got a dog in the fight, I guess you could say. So it wasn't long. I guess it was probably a few months maybe of hunting with those guys, and I was like, man, I got to get me at least a puppy or something to start tagging along with these guys and just kind of letting them see a hog and showing them the ropes, and kind of took off from there, and
like
been at it ever since. Yeah, been spending money and chasing these hogs around ever since.
It's fun.
You spend a lot of money on phones, I heard.
I do.
Yeah.
The great Rodney Bell owes me a phone.
That's it. It's
Yeah.
an old rod, the hot rod.
Yeah, old Hot Rod told us that if we went this way, it wouldn't be as wet.
Yeah, and then y'all came around the other way, and it wasn't, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it was about knee deep, but hindsight's 20/20.
So now the other way was head deep, right? Hey,
it was.
tell us that story right quick. Tell us that one, because that was when y'all were doing the Tulsa Standard hunt.
Yes, sir. So this past year, me, Cody Godwin, Rodney Bell, Mr. Kevin Brooks, and Drew Brooks all teamed up for the Tulsa hunt. We were hunting some property of Mr. Kevin's, and there was I guess you'd call it a creek. It was pretty hilly country. I mean, hilly for me being from Florida.
Yeah.
Probably like a anthill to you guys, but pretty good little valley, I guess you'd call it. And it was full of water. And we had Rodney, I believe it was Rodney's two dogs were baying out on. We thought it was an island, but it wasn't. It was just the other side of the creek, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
They went to baying, and there was a lot of water, and it looked like it was the end of the road for driving. So me, Cody, and Drew struck out with Cody's catch dog Poncho. Struck out across there and got about waist deep, and Rodney said, I think you should go to the left. So we went to the left. Well, that actually put us on the opposite side of this creek from where the hog was. Well, then to cross back over, instead of coming back and coming through the, I'd say, chest deep water, we pushed on forward like most hogs do, and didn't slow down long enough to really evaluate the situation. And I didn't slow down long enough to throw any kind of valuables down on the bank. Cody struck out across there first. I seen him using Poncho as a flotation device. I seen Cody go completely under, and I was like, Cody's a pretty tall fella. You know, that's got to be pretty deep. But I'm a little taller than him. Like, maybe I can touch. I got out there, and I realized pretty quick that I could not find the bottom, and my hat was floating. So I clung onto a cypress tree and caught my breath for a second and kept swimming. And the more water I took on board, the more I was sinking. I had my Garmin in my left hand and my phone in my right hand. I was like, well, it's one or the other, because I got to use one of these hands to paddle. So I started using my phone as a paddle, and the phone was toast before we ever made it to the other side. And long story short, we got to the other side, sent the bulldog, and caught a big sow. And I don't remember exactly what she went. I think she was 240, or so. And on our walk out, we said, well, let's try this other way because we definitely ain't going back that way. That's hindsight being 2020. We found out that the original way was only about waist deep at best.
Well, that's
and a whole lot shorter of a route too.
That's exactly right. Me and Rodney, we're like brothers, you know. And we go through those motions quite often. And I'm one of those, I will spend the extra 20 minutes looking at every possible route on that Garmin. I'm dead serious because I've just done, like where we're at, the country is so rough. And like I said, and I ain't knocking Rod by no means, but like he don't go to every bay. So we're the ones climbing up and down, and we're the ones swimming and doing all that. So it's like I want to find the absolute best way.
Right.
There's been a few times where Rodney's been like, you know, his way might have been better, and but like we don't really argue over it. But like I really take more time than what most people would. Because I'm just, like I said, I'm getting older and I want to pick one way and get there.
Right.
And dude, I did this Sunday. I followed this road. It was just a clear road, straight. You showed on the Garmin, you know, I was on some property I wasn't supposed to be on, about a mile and a half deep. I did call the guy who hunts the property and let him know my dogs were over there. Anyway, so I walk all the way to, I think I'd went 0.8 miles. 0.8 of a mile, and the road stopped. And then I got to looking, and it was like a little bitty tiny split, and there's two roads. So I had to walk back 0.7 of a mile and hit the left. And then I had to walk that mile.
Right.
And the dog had bayed so long, he was actually sitting on his ass, and the two hogs were sitting over there in the ditch. He was under a shade tree, and the two hogs were over there in the woods. And, so I got the dog called up. I got right up there by him, and luckily he was that tired, you know. But anyway, that was the one time I missed it on the Garmin. But man,
right.
I was close. But just it was so hot. It was like 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon, and we'd been out there since daylight, and it was stinking hot.
Oh yeah.
So that one little bitty mistake right there, I learned something very valuable. I need to slow down a little bit more. I got in a hurry. That's all it was. I got in a hurry.
I think I hate more than anything on the way into a hog. You know, it don't really matter what's in front of, at least for me and kind of down here where we hunt at, it's so thick. A lot. I mean, there's always a better route, but it ain't always perfect by no means. And so you kind of just get used to it and just kind of trudge on through and plow through the rust. That's right. And so you're pumped up anyway. You know, probably got a good hog stop or you know, you got a hog stop either way. So you're pumped up and you get in there, and on the way out, you're like, oh man, it looks way better over here. And you start heading that way. And it turns out the way that originally looked better is 10 times worse than the way that you had already broke a path coming through. So I've learned down here that the best way to do it is to just follow the way you came in every time. Unless you know for 100% fact it's better, don't take the chance.
Yeah.
Typically met with disappointment.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh,
I don't.
No, go ahead.
I don't remember exactly the situation with that particular sow, and I sunk my phone, but
yeah.
I can't remember. I don't think Mr. Kevin had like really knew the layout in that corner of that property.
Yeah.
And he was doing his best. He was on the phone trying to call and get a hold of the guy's property, you know, the guy that knew the property a little better, and trying to find out like where we could go, or if somebody had a boat that we could get across there, or, you know, how we could kind of mitigate the issue. And me, Rodney, and Cody, we've never hunted there at all. So
that's right.
We're all just looking at blank Garmin screens. You know, none of us had bird's eye. So we're all kind of just like, all right, well,
the dogs
we got
there.
Well, the dogs are that way. That's where we got to go.
That's right.
We done that. The first year we hunted that property we got down there in Forkland or Demopolis, we carried the landowner and his son. Actually, there was a pretty big group. Anyway, like we dropped the dogs out. We had, I think, two or three of our dogs and a couple of Rodney's dogs, and they took off, went straight down this little logging road. And the guy, about that time, he said, well, we had some corn down there about 400 yards. I said, well, they're 0.6 miles now. So that they're on him. And, man, they took that thing all the way up to the front. It's nothing but a swamp. And we were looking around through there, and the landowner, we were off his property, but he knew the owner of that land. And he told me, he was like, nobody's down here. We can't get in the gate. So we had to get out and walk. And he said, there's a road that goes down there to it. And so we all take off going through there. And then, like you said, man, the dogs are over here. We didn't know what we'd never been there. So I just hook a left and I take off through the thickest, gnarliest stuff you've ever seen. And we do that for, I don't know, a couple 100 yards. And I look to the right and it's just like, look, daylight and just clear. I said, better not be. And literally, Rodney had told me, he said, there's a road that runs crossways right there. And like I'm pretty sure Rodney had said that. And then when we got in there, like I said, the landowner, he had said that the road went the opposite way or like T-boned into it or something. Anyway, so man, we get to do all that. And literally I walk 20 yards to the right and there is a road that you can just drive a Cadillac down. And the whole time, but the landowner's son, Micah, he got to experience the hunt of a lifetime. He's got a bulldog. No, he had Charlie. Yeah. He had, which pretty much a bulldog. He's a yellow dog we had, but Charlie's dragging that poor youngin' through these briars. And I'm talking about, all you hear is 10 dogs out there just chopping, just jamming. And boy, these two are snatching and pulling. They're ready to get to it, And that boy was 11, I think, and probably weighed about 65, 70 pounds soaking wet. And that's about how much Charlie weighed. And when we got there, it was just, they were out on like this little, I'm not really going to say it wasn't big enough to be an island, but it was probably about a 20 or 30 foot circle out in the middle of that swamp. Man, you could just see them out there. It was beautiful. And we go out there and mud's waist deep, slop. It's nasty. This kid stays out there, sticks the hog. We take the head off of it. He's got it tied to a leash. Dog's dragging him back. The kid goes so hard, he literally gets out. He's on all fours, and he's just puking. He's puking.
Well,
yeah, and he rolled over. He said, Mr. Joey, I love this. He had a mullet with like 3 lines on each side of his hair.
Oh yeah.
I said, this is my kind of guy right here.
Built for speed.
Yes, and he pulled up on a Honda 4-wheeler in nothing but his underwear. That was and had the USA Olympic volleyball shades on. I said, yeah, this is that guy right now. That's him. But anyway, that's another one of those cool stories there of taking a wrong turn, but it turned out very, very good. Right. So I think Nate had, what was your next one we was talking about, Nate?
So what is your overall goal with your dogs? What is your end goal? What kind of dog do you want to have at the end of this?
Man, you sent me that question, I guess it was yesterday, and I kind of thought about it, and I was like, I don't really know what my end goal is. Like, I don't want it to end, I don't know what my
end goal is just to have as good a dog as you can in the moment, then hey, that's still a goal.
That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I'd like to have a dog that, I think we could all agree on this, that you can take any country, any place, and wherever it is that you find yourself hunting or whatever kind of terrain it is that does, the dog does well and finds hogs, stops hogs, and produces meat. But I think that's kind of a common goal for all of us. But really and truthfully, I like just the journey, like just raising dogs and trying to produce dogs that exceed the ones before them. I guess would be the goal that maybe, I guess again, we all share in common. I don't really have a particular thing set in mind though. I guess it's also subjective to, what I think is the best dog might not be the best dog to y'all, or what I think might be the best dog might be better than the best dog that y'all have seen. So it's all subjective. So it's kind of like, we all kind of share the same ideas of what we want, but I don't know. I think the journey and getting there and how you get there and how you raise dogs and stuff like that is what we all are different in. And
so So you run typically more just like bait and catch style. Now, are you road hunting or rig hunting or walk or cast hunting these dogs? How are you hunting them?
Yeah, a little bit of. I mean, I don't really think my dogs are superstars at anything. I think they do a little bit of everything, like well enough to catch hogs. I mean, my main Jip dog, she'll rig pretty decent. I can put them on tracks. You know, if we ride the hunting club, most of it's just, sandy roads we'll ride some nights, and just only, especially when I'm hunting with Cody, we'll just rig hunt dogs all night long. If we don't find a hog track in the road or the dogs don't rig, we won't turn out.
Yeah.
Now that he's starting to get into the casting dogs a little more, I'll tie mine in with his. If he casts his dogs out there, some of those half hounds and stuff like that, mine will tie with them and go the distance. But like this morning, it was just put on a track and jump the hog and run him until he stops, or put teeth in him until he stops.
That's the objective. That is the fight. It's so hard to get people to understand that. I don't think it's hard to get them to understand it. I think it's hard for their egos to let go of it. Is that the end result is catching the pig.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right.
It's simple. Now, whether you take a long route about it, like I've been doing it for, I don't know how many years. Kevin Brooks has been doing it for 212 years because he's old, way older than I am. And he ain't pretty like me, though. You know what I'm saying? People like that we tend to take a long way around sometimes because we've done it so long. It's like, well, let's just try this. We're not going anywhere. We're there. And then some younger guys are in a hurry to try to produce to get their name out there. It's not about your name. If you have the dog, everybody will know your name sooner or later. If you have the dogs,
yes, sir.
You gotta have that equipment.
Yes, sir. And I think it, like you were kind of saying, you got to be, I guess the word, be humble enough to, if your dog doesn't excel in one area and somebody else's does, like I say, Cody's definitely got the better casting dogs. And I keep using Cody as an example because me and him are the ones that mainly hunt together.
Yeah.
But I hunt with a lot of friends around here, and just about every one of my friends hunts a little bit differently. And so my dogs kind of hunt around a lot of different styles of hunting, rig hunting, track, putting on tracks, casting, stuff like that. So you got to be humble enough to also look at it, look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, my dog don't really excel here. Let me just take the back seat and let, so-and-so take the front seat and let him turn his dogs out, and mine will just fit in where they get in, or, get in where they fit in type thing.
Yeah. We've done that quite a bit. There's been a lot of hunts that I've went to over the years that my best dogs, there's a lot of people that's never even seen them, that I've hunted around a lot. And it's because they're a totally different style dog than what we're hunting at that time. And like you said, I might have 2 or 3 over here they're going to help your dogs. If I come to hunt with you, I want, I've got 2 or 3 dogs here that I know they'll be more apt to be helpful than to mess your dogs up or to do something totally different. That's what I'm going to do. Like you said, I've tried to be humble enough to be like, I need to let the dogs work with the other dogs and the terrain and the people. Because we've had dogs that weren't good around people, that like it freak them out a little bit, in the past. And it's hard to get a dog to really shine and do what it really will do if it's shy or something like that. We tend not to have any dogs like that now because that's a fault that we don't like. But when I was learning a lot of this stuff, I had all kind of dogs, and man, I learned a lot of stuff from just sitting back and letting other people's dogs run and me watching what style dog they had and what worked better for that area.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And I feel like the way you guys, the area that you have, I've never hunted where you live at, but I've hunted in South Georgia some, and that's what I would have. I don't know that I would have a deep casting dog myself. I'd probably be rigging or road hunting, trying to find hot tracks because everything's thick, it's nasty, and I want to catch that hog as quick as I can.
Yes, sir.
That would just be me. You know, I'm not saying that. I don't know if that's right or not. I'd have to be there for a while.
Yes, sir. A lot of our areas too, you know, you don't need a dog that casts a mile. Most of the time in the places that we're hunting, not that we have, you know, the best of the best spots to hunt, but a lot of our spots, we do have enough hogs that you don't need a dog to go. If he hadn't jumped a hog and you know, 500, 600, 700 yards, he's probably not there. You know, I mean, to me, that's pretty long, a pretty long cast and no sign.
Who's that?
Or here, if you haven't jumped the hog in 500, 600 yards here, just because we also know where the hogs are.
Yeah, you're doing your homework.
Right. We keep tabs. I mean, we bait up fairly decent, and we've always got cameras running. Even when we're not baiting heavy, we've still got cameras running.
Yeah.
And they'll meander through there and come by the camera and let you know that they're there. So, we do about the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But like, there was another guy that I know from the Bay Pen, Raymond. He told us that, like, he lives in South Carolina, I think.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the dogs, and you know, and like, well, our medium range dog or hotter nosed dogs would go, you know, they would go out 600, 800 yards would be the short side, and then they might go out, you know, 3/4 of a mile. And he looked at me. He said, "For what?" I said, and then we were talking about some of the longer dogs. I was talking about Rodney's dogs, Midnight and Sally. I said, you know, he can send them back and forth 2 or 3 times, and they'll just keep going further and further. He said, well, why would you do that? I was like, to get to the hogs. He said, if I go 500 yards and I ain't got hogs, he said, we got to go. We got to move.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, man. I was like, I was always curious how my dogs would do in a population like that. And we got one area here that we hunt. It's got a pretty good population of hogs. And I think last year, me and Joe and Rodney went down there one evening. I think we caught 18 one time and then 21 the next weekend. And like, we're talking about dropping. We didn't even get to drop until dark, between 5 and 5:30. And we were loading up at 10. I mean, it's a wrecking crew. Like, it's a wrecking crew. But I had a lot of work. Dogs. Well, I mean, we had a lot of rough dogs.
Okay.
So
even at that though, that's still a lot of work.
Oh, dude, you're talking about laying flat on your back in the middle of the mud, sucking wind, soaked from your head to your feet.
I guarantee it.
And we carried a group of bear hunters, and those guys. You asked Rodney about that one. I looked at Davey. I said, well, you want to go turn one more? He said, Mr. Joey, I'll be honest with you. I've had all the fun that one man can stand. I said, really? He said, what number was that? I said, that's number 20. And then Sally sounded off. I said, there's 21. He said, let's get that one and go. But now, that's not every time. That's by no means. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not every time. We went Sunday down there. Yeah. We had hogs bayed. We had 3 hogs bayed right side by side, and I never put hands on them. And then we roaded down. We didn't go 150 yards, and we had a group of a dozen. Then we had 3 more bays going, and it's like, you know, then we went one night and didn't even strike a hog at all. Hunted like a fool and did not even strike a pig. So it's you know, it's still hit and miss.
Still hunting.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
But like those properties, I think having the population of hogs will really help determine how good your dog could be or is.
100%. 100%.
Having a dog that has to get deep to find pigs, well, you don't, like you said, you don't need one. And it would be hard to train a real deep cast dog there or to get one going because they don't have to go deep.
Yes, sir. I'll tell you, I tell you too, it's so, I thoroughly want to see, and it's not like an arrogance thing or like a challenge. I don't guess it's a challenge. I just really do want to see like some long, get you guys to bring some of those long range. I would like to see how dogs that normally cast, really far for me, like we'll just say a 3/4 of a mile. I mean, that is exceptionally far for me. When it comes to a cast dog, I'd like to see how well those dogs do here. Like, does it affect them, or do they still truck right on along through that thick stuff, and how wet it is, and a lot of swimming and things like that. I'd like to just see the differences and how it works out here versus other places. Because I'll say, like, even my dogs, I don't by no means think that my dogs cast very well. But even going to some of the like more open woods, like North Georgia, up there with Mr. Kevin and stuff like that. I mean, shoot, dogs that don't normally cast for me and some of the guys that I hunt with around here, you go to some of those more open woods and they almost look like a halfway decent cast dog up there. And I don't know if it's because the woods are a little more open, so the dog's like, man, this ain't too bad right here. I'm not used to this. Or, I would assume that it's got something to do with that. But
well, I'd say like with like most of like your lowland and like upland, that's going to be more open. And then that in between is going to be where your thick stuff's going to be because like the forestry industry up here in North Alabama is huge. Almost everything has been cut and surface mined. Because coal country is huge. So, basically they go in there and whether it was hardwoods or whether it was pine, they go in there and knock it off. They might go 100 foot. They might go 800 foot. Turn it over. It's rocks on top and they plant back loblolly pine.
Okay.
And so you could imagine in 5 years what that's like. They have 200 acres or 150 acres and it's just pine trees and briars, and it can be real rough. But like you said, the biggest thing is we don't have that water mixed in. Because we've had plenty of times where it's like there's a hole through this briar patch here, and there's a pig trail going down, and we send the dogs in there, and they either keep going and blow through the briar patch and hit something open, or they bust up some pigs in there, like you said. And just from our experience, like with taking like Midnight and Sally, I know like when we went out to Georgia, there's been times where they didn't go as far because they hit a pig, and there's been times where they still went a mile.
Well, that first time we went out there, Jacob Matheson, he was like, man, y'all bring them cast dogs, bring the cast dogs. So I think we brought two. Brought Oscar and Matt. Rodney brought Midnight and Sally. Well, he brought four. I think he brought BB and Red too. Yeah. Anyway, so we bring them dogs, and then I bring a couple of just rough running dogs.
Mm.
We kick them out 84 yards. Ow. That's all it was, 84 yards. And then there literally was a group of, I don't know how many hogs come across the field, and we just start picking them off and relaying. And it was, like you said, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Like, well, why did we need to do all this? Well, we would have caught more hogs. And everybody ought to know how I feel about Midnight and Sally. Like that's my dogs too,
Oh, they're phenomenal.
Yeah, but there was no reason to even bring them. Like they found hogs. Now, don't get me wrong, them bitches gonna find hogs. But I had 25 more head of dogs at the house that was way better suited. Like I guarantee you, they're hotter nosed. They're just rough. They're like Kevin Brooks, like he was talking about the mongrels, I had a whole big pack of them, and I was like, man, we could have brought them, but like we didn't have no problem. I think we caught 30 head that weekend.
Oh yeah,
that ain't a bad weekend.
Listen, man, we got to knock out a 50 head weekend. We got to get 50 sooner. Like when we come down there with you and Cody, if we don't catch 50. I got to catch one that's 500 pounds anyway.
You better take the 0 off the 50 number if you plan on coming down here.
We'll be good. We're going to catch big hogs, though.
I don't know about
Dogberry studs.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Them gall dangers.
That old Okinokie swamp keeps a few around, but they don't like to stay. So it is hit or miss. You're either gonna do real well or you're gonna do real poor.
Yeah. Well, now, like I said, saying we caught 30 head, that does not mean that they were 30 studs. By no means, Now
I hear you.
we caught a couple. We caught that big old blonde sow.
Yeah.
That weekend, and that was a big old sow. And there were so many dogs on the ground. Like it was great. First thing we said was, we're not going to do this. First thing happened was open the box, dump them.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, Carter's like, man, I forgot my boots and my chaps. And I was like, man, I got an extra pair of chaps if you want them. No, don't worry about it. The first pigs we struck ran into a wet briar patch.
Oh.
And Ryan's like, and so we were trying to stay back, and then more pigs kept running out, and Carter ended up striking off, and he ended up getting off the buggy. I don't even know why he got off the buggy. Ryan's like, piss on that. We'll drive over there.
Yeah.
And so we drive over there.
We had hogs caught everywhere.
Oh, yeah. We had like 3 or 4 going.
Well, that one I had to kick in. I had to put the karate on him. Me and Drew was going in there, and then oh, dude, you ain't never seen me do karate. I'm talking about I'm a sensei.
I hadn't heard this.
Oh, Oh, you don't know?
Yeah, he gives out free lessons at the Waffle House.
A Judy chop. I put your Judy chop on.
Go behind your local Waffle House dumpster and you get your ass kicked.
Yeah, you come back here behind that dumpster, I'll kick your ass. No, man, me and Drew were going in there, and Drew kicked to the left, and we had a pig squealing over there, so we go over there, and he sticks it, and I knew it was smaller. I was like, it's not a big. I turn around, and there's like this 50-pounder just mean mugging me, drooling, had blood in its eyes. Yeah, I'm talking about a bad dude.
Feral. Real feral.
Oh, full-blooded feral. That was one of them Georgia shit farm feral hogs. And that son of a gun come at me, and I had to do a right kick. I didn't do a full roundhouse because I didn't want to show out, but I did lift my leg off the ground about 3.5 inches.
Dangerous man.
I had to kick that son of a gun off of me.
And then the mouth.
Then we went over to help Carter, and I had to kick another one off of me. I was like, where are we at?
Poor old Carter's pants were shredded.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, like, I was drop kicking pigs off of me, and the dogs weren't with us.
For real pork pounding.
I was like, what is happening here? Drew was like, is that another pig trying to? I said, dude, these things, they're jumping out of the woods. They're just jumping out of the briars.
Pork chopping.
Man, we was in them. We was in them.
I ain't never had that kind of problem.
But now they were, like I said, I used to have it real bad with fat girls, but man, I got married and calmed down. So I think that's what it is. They still get that whiff of that odoriferous man smell, and they're like, there he is. And
they ought to put you in one of them body spray, like Axe body spray commercials.
No, don't say that.
This is that Joey Wright scent.
It'll have a skull and crossbones on that dude. I promise you. They smell me at, they'll be like, negative. So, but no, man. Every dog's got its. And not every dog, but everybody hunts a little different, and. Like you said, I think that ultimate goal is for same thing with me, you, Rodney, Carter, all the people that we know, is to have dogs that you can go hunt anywhere and catch hogs with.
That's right.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I like, like I say, my dogs, I don't really feel specialized in one thing. Like I wouldn't say my dogs are cast dogs or they're rig dogs. That's about it.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be a smart ass, but like they're hog dogs.
100%. That's it. They kind of just hogs. They get in where they fit in, and I do well. Like even hunting, I hunt by myself. I do fairly well and catch hogs, and I go hunt with other people, and my dogs just kind of mesh with their dogs, and whatever style it is that we're kind of hunting that evening or that morning, they fit right in with that, and so.
So
really just
doing the dogs and stuff like you're doing now. You've been doing it long enough. You got a good enough pack of dogs that you've started a business, and
yes, sir.
You take care of different properties, and are you doing some guided hunts as well?
Yes, sir. The guided hunts is kind of here and there.
I didn't know how in depth you had got with that yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I advertise the guided hunts, but that's not really like my main forte, I guess, if you will. My just by happenstance, I just stopped one day at a property that I knew there was a lot of good hogs on. Asked a employee at a gate. I won't get into like details or anything, but asked an employee at a gate, just so happened to be a manager of that property.
Yeah.
Like, man, do you guys have any interest in people coming and like removing hogs and stuff like that? He's like, man, actually, we have a couple people that do it, and shoot, we wouldn't mind having another. We could definitely use your help. give this number a call, and they'll kind of get the details lined out with you and stuff. That's our environmentalist. And so I spoke with the lady on the phone the next morning. She kind of gave me some details on the things that I would need, bare minimum, like you got to have insurance. You got to have, the things that you need to really be official and be welcome on the property. You're technically a contractor at that point.
Yeah. What kind of insurance did they make you? Well, not make you, but they require,
It's like I guess it would be considered like a general liability.
Yeah.
Just kind of covers all the bases, really, like property damage, injury, stuff like that. I think it's $1 million policy, but it's pretty cheap, really. I actually hooked Ryan and Carter up with the insurance company that I use and everything, so that way they could try to get their stuff going. This has been a pretty good while back. But
I got you.
Anyway, long story short, it took me.
I was going to say we might need to.
Yeah, what insurance company did you use?
I was fixing to say we might have to look into that. We've got several that.
Okay.
We've got it, and we can do that later on, or whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
Through private stuff.
Yeah, 100%. But long story short, it took me a really long story short. It took me probably 6 or 7 months of chasing paperwork, and because I'm a contractor, no different than an electrical company or whoever else. I had to have, like, for hog dogs, I had to have like ladder safety documentation, fire extinguisher safety training documentation. I had to write like custom state, and I say I had to write them. I did a whole lot of copying and pasting and editing. But either way, it was a lot of computer work, just kind of getting all the documents in order and stuff like that they required, safety wise and training wise and all of that. So we got all that lined up, and they give me a few bucks here and there, and I remove a few hogs for them, and I've got 3 locations with them now, and I'm hoping to expand and pick up a few more. So that's kind of my main.
Are you hiring anybody? I need a job.
I wish.
Yeah. Nate's my boss, and dude, like, I'm sick of this junk. Like, he's mean to me.
Listening to the podcast and listening to y'all every time I'm around y'all, it sounds like Nate works you to death.
Dude, like, I'm talking about, like,
I'm getting no break.
I'm
like the bad dream. He's napping, and I like coming in there, and I'm like, your day's ruined.
Yeah.
Get up.
We're on a roof, and then it's like, man, it's hot. The shingles are tearing out from under your feet.
Come on, let's go do some more work somewhere else.
I'm like, okay, we're going to go. We'll stop at the house. We'll grab us a late lunch. We'll cool off for a little bit, and then we'll do this. No, let's don't do that. Let's don't do nothing but go to work again. And then guess what? Well, okay, now I got you 4 episodes to record this week, so now you're not going to bed till 10 or 11 o'clock every night. And then, wait a minute. We still got all these properties that we got to take care of too. So when the hell am I going to do that? And plus, I'm 112 years old now. I'm almost as old as Kevin. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's what I said. So
keeping you youthful. It's keeping you youthful.
So I work. So that tells you something. I ain't lazy. So if you do get to hiring, just keep me in mind. We just
you'll be first on the list. You'll be first on the list.
How can someone contact you to get your services?
My only social media right now is Facebook. It's Kent, Kent Outdoors on Facebook.
I'll link that down below in the description.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You can just shoot me a message on Facebook. I think my email is on my Facebook page as well. If you want to shoot me an email, you can, or just message my personal page. I can reply on any of those. But nice. Yeah, the main thing is that I'd really like to keep doing is the commercial stuff. It's tougher because, getting in the door and getting your foot in there and getting all the paperwork, getting all the logistical stuff lined up is a lot tougher. But than the more private stuff, like, oh, hey, I got a guy that wants to go on a guided hog hunt. That's pretty cut and dry.
Well, you're not going to have to deal with all the riffraff and the and I hate to, man, I don't want to be the guy that says it, but honestly, like the fly by night guys that just they went and got them some dogs and or whatever, and they're going to go into business right now, and so they come in there and talk them into letting them. So you don't have to deal with that. That's great, You
have to do a lot more bureaucratic stuff, like you said.
Well, it has to be legitimate, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
that's right.
Like doing it like that, we kind of do the same thing with through the state here, but we're not really commercial. I guess we Well, some of it would be like the farms and stuff.
We have like a business license for it because we have a business like registered as Dixie Doggers, and then everything falls under that one registration.
Yeah, like I'm just saying, like you can.
We can't.
We just try to do it like
dogs in Alabama.
No.
So like any of our nuisance control work, like
we
no
can't
dogs
use
allowed, no shooting at night. You can shoot them during
even
though there's like a nighttime season.
Now
so
you can do depredation at night, but we can't.
You can't get paid for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I can't have. I'm not allowed. Obviously, they deem it as like a construction site, so you can't have firearms and stuff like that. But they don't mind the dogs and knives or find them and relocating them or butchering them.
That would be the best way for real.
Yeah. Whatever the case is that that I'm doing at the time. I do a lot. I'll give hogs to a couple folks around here that like making sausage and stuff like that. So I try to get rid of them the right way when I can. But some of them, they get off in them gallberries and I'm not. Yeah. And they're not coming out.
Yeah, you get in them big hogs like that, it's hard.
Yes, sir.
It's hard to get them out, especially if it's hot.
Oh, 100%.
You don't have enough time.
I've been blessed, man. Really, like the site managers and the environmentalists that I've dealt with so far have all been pretty awesome. They don't really bother me too much. They, once you get all your paperwork turned in for that site and everything's ready to go, they either get you a temporary key or get you your own key, and that's pretty much it. You let them know when you're going on to the site, when you're leaving the site. Outside of that, it's kind of yours to mess up. Really, that's what to mess up.
Yeah, that's it. It's whether or not you're going to mess it up.
What's on these sites? Like, is it just like general?
Don't tell nobody.
Construction, solar, or what's on there?
Yeah. So it's solar or either future solar is what most people want.
I wouldn't tell nobody.
Yeah.
So I would.
Yeah.
It's a secret.
Can you disclose what company that you're providing these services to?
I would.
I'm not. I'm not. I won't do it on the podcast. But I'll tell
don't do it. I wouldn't. Don't say nothing.
Because
don't
the reason why I'm
Nathan's
asking,
a snitch. Don't say he's trying to snitch.
Hey, you can tell everyone your business. They just have to do it better than you.
No,
I dare you to do it better.
100%.
Not
dare
me.
you to do it
Like,
better.
don't even try. Don't try.
The bad thing is it don't take much to do it better than me. So I'm
He's like, please don't. Just leave it alone.
Please don't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
But
all you got to be is halfway decent with paperwork, and you can get it.
Well, and that's the thing about it. And I'm cutting up.
Oh yeah.
For the most part on that, but I am serious too about I wouldn't say
100%.
that because, like you said, there might be a couple other people that's like, oh, let's jump on that bandwagon.
Oh yeah.
And then
100%.
Next thing you know, you got like I said, you don't have to deal with a lot of competition. We don't want to put none on you either.
Well, the reason why I was asking to see if it was a large enough company, which I'm sure it is, to where if they have like a economic impact statement about these feral hogs, and basically be like, okay, each of these pigs is causing us X amount of damage a year, and Connor here has removed X amount of pigs, so he saved us X amount of money.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so, I was just kind of curious on something like that because Alabama, every year we have a conservation board advisory meeting where you can go and present to these people, hey, this is my research that I've done on this. This is what I'd like to get changed. I just want to give you all these handouts and this information. And these people typically either become like ag commissioners or the governor, all these different political offices. And so if you could show somebody something like that, like maybe in our state, we could get it changed to where we could do nuisance control work with dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do it already, but we do it for free.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, when we get the guns out or we get the traps out, okay, we get paid for that, but then we have to do the freebie for the dogs, and
that's
a lot of times, and a lot of times we do the best.
Yeah, we catch.
Right.
We probably remove more with dogs than anything else.
Yeah. A lot of times you go in there and just banging out numbers with the guns and the traps, and then you're actually getting those problem animals.
We don't even mess with the gun shit.
No.
Hardly none. It's like...
Well, in Alabama, it's just hard to have a place to actually set up and shoot.
Where we're at, especially, it's not enough open fields. Area, to do the thermal stuff and all that. But like we trap some properties. If we have somebody like we got farms and stuff, they'll call and if they got a sounder moving in, it's messing up hay fields or agriculture fields, and we'll come in and take them out. But like I said, I think it's crazy how. Like, we're one of the only states where, you can't do anything. with
right.
with the hogs. You know, it's just
No,
ridiculous.
just listening to y'all talk, you know, it's like turkey season and things like that, man. Like Alabama seems like it's pretty tight on the rules and stuff as far as, you know, not being able to hunt after certain times.
Oh yeah.
All of the stuff I've heard you guys talking about as far as challenges y'all face.
Well, we can't have any live hogs at all. We can't have a live hog. Period.
Pond capture, it must be cute.
So that's why.
So she so here in Georgia you can apply, you know, and just have like a transport license.
But now, if we go in there and the dogs are baying, and when we get there, the dogs come back to us and the hog just leaves, then we're still legal because we didn't catch it. You know what I mean? We just baited.
Right. Okay.
So until we actually put hands on it, it's still free. So that's why I said there's times where we go and we're going to bay them and we're not going to put hands on them.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's it's great. You know, any of this. Any like hunting rules and stuff, man. There's so many gray areas that are kind of like that. I mean, obviously that works out in our favor as dog hunters, but there's also those gray areas that don't work out in our favor. That, you know, can bite you in the rear end pretty fast. Yeah. But no, Nate, I can get with you, Nate, and I'll give you some info on it.
All right, sweet.
What kind of do y'all have any kind of crazy rules or regulations for the hogs and dogs
in Florida?
In Florida, yeah.
It's pretty much anarchy here. No, I'm kidding. No, it's not anything comparable to the stuff that I've heard you guys talk about on the podcast, and you know, we're around each other talking about it in person. It doesn't seem like. I mean, here it's pretty much free game. Like, you can shoot them at night. I think all you got to have is a hunting license here, and I don't really hunt very many WMAs, but I think for like the WMAs around here, I think you got to have like a stamp for that particular WMA and a hunting license, and I believe that's it, to be completely honest with you. And then with the WMAs, I want to say there's like time. I mean, there's time here, but I think there is time like you need to be in and out of the property by stuff like that. But nothing like outrageous. It's pretty much free game. Catch and kill as many of them as you want.
You can still hunt the WMA.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, we can't hunt WMAs.
Really? So there's not a WMA at all for y'all? Like a WMA hog season?
No. One in South Alabama. I think
it has 1 week.
Yeah.
It's the Mobile Delta 10 saw. And they started that a few years ago. It's been several years now. And it's for 1 week. And I mean, like, that's the only one that I know of in the state. And so, you know, everybody's going.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only hog season, or that's the only WMA?
That's the only WMA
that
will allow you to run dogs.
All
the other ones we can't run dogs.
Yeah, you can. You go out there and shoot them. You can hogs
they have different.
Not with dogs.
They have different bow seasons and gun seasons and stuff, but you can't do it with dogs.
Is there like a concrete reason why dogs are like so like the state is so against dogs? Like, was there a bad incident?
They were trying to prevent the population of the state in entirety. Years ago, you could do whatever. There was absolutely no rules. The only thing in any of the rule books was once feral swine is captured, it's reduced to domestic livestock. It means it's your pig. You do what you want to do with it. We didn't have to have transport license. We didn't have to have pen licenses or nothing. We tie them up, you bring them home, feed them out, do whatever you wanted. Then it changed to where you couldn't move them off the property 1 year, and then the next year, no live hogs. Or it might have been 2 years later, but you couldn't have a live hog, period. All hogs must be killed upon capture.
Dang.
Yeah, and it just went to that. And here's the crazy thing. That didn't come into effect until all 63 counties, or is it 67? 67 counties were populated. The whole state was populated.
Yeah.
There was hogs in every county, and then they changed the law.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, you waited till the last, like the last 2 years, and there was only just a couple of counties that weren't populated to change the law, and it's too late by then. They were, and of course, a lot of the deer doggers and the deer hunters were blaming it on hog hunters, saying, these guys are catching hogs and transporting them and dumping them out. And true enough, I know there's some guys that do, but as a majority, we did. You know.
Oh yeah.
There were not a whole lot of guys that ran hog dogs 20 years ago, 15 years ago. In the last 10 years is when it's really come into play.
Yes, sir.
But like they're really, really hard on the dog, man. It's
wow.
I don't know what. Like I said, I don't know why, and that's why we were talking about.
States had battles with about every kind of dog hunting there is.
Yeah.
I mean, because we got a lot of the deer dogging rights taken away, and then got a lot of them back.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like in Alabama, like your dog can get a trespassing ticket.
Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So say if like landowner has a repeated issue, like they live next to a deer dog club. Okay, say if this deer dog keeps coming in their yard, so they clip up the dog because in Alabama you do not have a right to retrieve law.
Everybody thinks they do.
You cannot just go on to someone else's property and just get your dog without the possibility of being prosecuted for trespassing. And if you have a weapon, you know it might get a little more intense.
Oh
than
yeah.
that. And
100%.
And so they do. I want to say it's the first 2 times. It's just a written warning. The game warden can come out and write you a written warning. And then the third time, I want to say it's like $170. It's like a $200 fine or something like that.
Well, then if you got to go to court costs almost $400 now.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know if they make you go to court over that or if it's just a pay online. I'm not sure. I've never heard of anyone getting it.
If you challenge it, you'll have to go to court. You know, so. But
I don't know how it works with. I don't know how it works with dogs, but I know like some northern states, like Maine being one of them. I just have a friend that lives there, and he was telling me about it. You're allowed to like deer hunt, turkey hunt. You're allowed to do whatever you want on any property that's not posted property, as long as you have your your hunting license in order and everything.
That's right.
And it's crazy. Like you have some states that are on one end of the spectrum. Like you can go on so and so's property next door as long as you don't have a no trespassing sign. You can shoot all the game you want as long as you're within the rules. Yeah. And then you have states like Alabama where it's
all posted.
Like, everything.
The entire state's
the
posted.
entire state's like, well, ain't no trespassing signs. It doesn't matter. You know that you don't own the property.
Right.
You know it's not your property, and that's all. That's well enough. And another thing in the state of Alabama, they have a right to kill law. And I promise you, where we live at, it was put into effect the first day that it was announced and passed. I know 2 local people that were killed.
No kidding.
Yep. Tried to go in a gate. Guy said, hey, I done told y'all. And the old boy popped off at him and he shot him down.
Jeez.
Same thing happened about 5 miles from there, but it was a full altercation. They wound up having a shootout. Like I said, that was, yeah. So like if I'm at my house or if I'm on my property and you come on my property, and I do need to give you ample time to leave. Yeah.
Right.
Can't shoot people in the back.
Yeah, I'm not going to shoot you in the back if you're running away from me. Nobody should do that regardless, So, but
100%.
If you're there and you say, hey, guys, y'all need to leave, and I mean leave now, best thing to do, of course, would be video everything so you have your evidence at hand and let them know they're not welcome there. They're trespassing. You feel your life is threatened, has been threatened. And if they don't, then you just take care of business.
Dang it, man.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Dang it, man.
Yeah. Well,
that's crazy.
Like you're talking about the no trespassing thing, the signs. When I was growing up, this was in Arkansas. Man, I remember just stopping anywhere. Like it didn't matter. We'd be on the side of the road and pull over and turn them beagles loose. My dad and them rabbit hunted all the time, and we'd be hunting, and the landowner would pull up, and he'd be like, y'all from around here? Just start talking. Y'all doing any good or whatever? Nobody said nothing. And the people that didn't want you hunting, now they had it posted. If you weren't supposed to be in there, there's posted signs everywhere. And I always found that. And I don't know if that was the actual law or not, but I do know that we hunted anywhere we wanted to.
That's the way the laws work where you live.
Yeah, that's where they were then. So I don't know if that's what it was or not, but.
Yeah.
But there was never really any big issues about it either. So,
I think everything seemed to be obviously I'm only 27, so I don't know back then, but it seemed just from stories like my people all talking to me and just, some older gentleman talking to me said it seemed like back then times were a lot simpler. Just
Way
everybody's
better.
It seemed like everybody was way less quick to jump the gun on really anything. I mean, not even got to be related to hunting. Just seemed like everybody was a little easier going back then. But
I agree.
times have definitely changed.
Well,
times have definitely changed.
There was a lot. People didn't put up with a bunch of bull, but people didn't start a bunch because of the first one. When
right, yeah, 100%.
In the 40s, 50s, 60s, that generation there, they didn't put up with nothing, and they'd smack you. They drag you out of the car and whoop your butt right there in the parking lot. So that kind of rolled on until it got into the 90s, and then everything started changing a little bit. And then once it got to the early 2000s, man, it really, really went south. I mean,
oh yeah,
it amazes me now to see how some of these people, like the deal with no respect. It's insane how I see some young people treat people that's older than them. And true enough, I do understand that, the old adage, to get respect, you got to give respect and all that. But I'm going to give you respect right off the bat, unless you're disrespecting me,
Yeah.
But if it's an older lady right there, I'm going to open the door. If it's any lady, I'm going to open the door, period. I'll open the door for guys too. It don't matter. I'm just trying to be helpful. But you'd be surprised at the people that'll push them out of the way. And just, I don't know, man. It's one of those things that's just not expressed as much. But I think that people have seen how detrimental it is. And a lot of that's coming back. Oh, yeah. Like there's people a lot of people, they respect that part.
Yes, sir. I think so too. And I would agree with that.
Yeah. And because there's a lot of good people, There's some that I'm not saying they're bad people. They just weren't raised the same way we were raised.
Yes, sir. I tell you, back on like kind of the hog dog topic, but on the same note, man, I've never met talking about the bay pen stuff, and I've seen a bunch of stuff today on the bay pen baying that they're going to do in Oklahoma, like woods dog stuff.
Yeah.
And people kind of debating back and forth on what should be allowed in the bay pen, what shouldn't be allowed in the bay pen, all of that stuff. Man, I haven't ran into a single person at any of the bay pen events that I've been to that was like not the nicest person in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I went to the one in Louisiana when I've seen you guys there. Been to a couple now, the Brunswick Bay. What was the most recent one?
The Abbeville.
That's it. That's it.
Festival.
Yeah, that's it. But it just seems like everybody just has a good time, man. And like everybody's nice to each other. I had ran into a single person that had that didn't have a pretty good attitude and just be willing to carry on conversation. I mean, not even have to know you or anything.
And it's all ages. That's the great part about it, because you've got youngsters out there that's 15, 16 years old to guys that are 60 and 70 years old. And for the most part, everybody gets along. And, once you're around those people for a long time, you get to know some of them a little better. And you'll find out that, like none of them's bad. Like I said, I'm not saying nobody's bad, but they'll have their own little quirks. Hell, we all do. Everybody does.
Yes.
But like you said, as a whole, I think it's more along just the line of the crowd that you're around. Like that, we have that whole thing in common. We all have dogs. Or we like dogs, or we like the hog dog deal. We all have that in common, so it's a common ground.
Mm-hmm. I think too, like from what I've seen, like everyone at the bayings, categorize everybody and say everyone. Everybody that I've ran into at the bay pen stuff is all kind of in the same mindset that we were just talking about. They're all like respect. They're going to give you respect until you've done something to kind of lose it. I mean, they're all like, hey man, you want a beer, or hey man, we cooking food over here, come over and get you a plate. Like, I mean, it seems like everybody's just kind of all inclusive on that same level, like we were just discussing, just kind of having respect for people. And it ain't like you got to really go out of your way and earn it from them. They're just good folks that are, that's just how they were raised. And that's
without a doubt,
we're all on the same team, and they treat you like it.
Yeah.
That's right.
There's too many, and then you take a lot of the guys that are woods hunters, a few years ago, it was like all you heard about was the bay pens and how, that ain't right, or that ain't the way they do it, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And it's like, well, give it a chance. And some of them have went, and like guys like you and me, once we got there, we were like, dude, this is fun.
Oh yeah.
We're having a great time. So what was the big deal? It became, at first it was all about the dog. Then it became we're all about a community.
100%. I think it was Carter that said it, or either Carter or Ryan, one of them said it. That more than, I would say, 90% of the time, all the conversations that are being had around the vape pen are woods dog and woods hunting conversations. I don't think I've really talked about a pen dog, or aside from just asking questions like, hey, why did that dog get deducted at that point, or what, stuff like that, just trying to learn. But aside from that, every conversation I've had is talking about hunting or telling some lie about the hog you caught.
That's right.
I mean, it really is.
Well, I agree 100%. And that's what we noticed as well. It's like everywhere we went, at every bay and all that, like we started out, we talked about the bay pen stuff and, who they were, and introduce ourselves, and we'd get to know somebody, and the conversation would maybe not immediately, but very soon into the conversation, we were going to be talking about what kind of dogs we run in the woods, or where we hunt, or like you said, that's how it went. So the whole thing of being divided, that to me, there's just no sense in it at all.
Right.
I don't think it should be divided at all.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like hog hunting tournaments just as much as the next guy, but I don't think that hunting should be a competition in general. Like, it ain't got to be,
No.
Well, my woods dogs can find hogs better than your pen dogs can, or my pen dogs can bay better in a pen than your woods dogs can, or vice versa, or whatever the case is. I mean, competition is competition. You want to be the best and win and everything, but that don't mean you got to be, any kind of way about it to do the winning.
Well, that's where it comes, like what you just said, that's what comes into play. It's somebody's being a certain way about it instead of just being about the dogs or being about the sport or whatever.
Right.
That's right. It's them. It's their ego.
That's right.
It's that person. It's nothing to do with what's even at hand. Like you said, if you got a guy that says, well, bring your dogs down here, I got $15,000. We'll see who's best dog and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, why don't we just go hunt together?
That's right.
and you can see what the dogs do, and it's not going to cost you $15,000. It's not going to cost me $15,000. It might cost us a few $100, for fuel and eats or motel or something. No big deal. But I just don't get a whole lot of that.
Yeah. Well, and like the way you even started that analogy, like, I got $15,000, bring your best dog. If you'd have just said, hey man, let's go hunt together.
Yeah.
Like, and just kind of change the whole tone and the whole approach. It goes a long way. So.
Without a doubt. And if you'll go back to like social media and look at all the bickering and the arguing on the biggest ones are always about that right there. Bring your dog down here. My dog will show you this, and I'll show blah blah blah. It turns into a fiasco. And it's like, dude, what is wrong? Why?
Well, and 90% of the time, you're not going to really determine whose dog was better by bringing your dog to somewhere else. Every dog has his day and everything. Man, hunting is so subjective, like as far as whose dog did better. And I'm a firm believer that if you just hunt for your dogs and hunt for yourself, and it don't matter if your dogs did the best or found the hog that day, or if they did something that made you proud,
that's it.
My dog may not have found the hog, but he was there and helped to catch it. Like, that's a win in my book. If my dog is the one that trailed the hog and jumped it, and run it, we packed your dogs to it, and as a team they stopped it, and we caught the hog. Right. I'm dang proud. My dog did a good job trailing that day. So it's I guess it's just all in the way that you, I guess, go about it and the way your perspective on things. But
there's a lot of people out there that's all they worry about is whose dog struck it or whose dog ran it, And
yes, sir.
I I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, though. I really don't, because 10 years ago, and up to 5 years ago, it was pretty rough. There was a lot of people like that, especially people that were just getting started or only been hunting about 1 or 2, 2 years.
I feel like a lot of people have joined in the last 10 years.
Yeah, the past 5 years, they really have come together.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of it's got to do with like social media and the way we all interact. I mean, you got, like I said, we had Alabama State Coon Hunters Association sponsored a buckle for our hog dog hunt.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty cool.
How many people have their state coon hunter association sponsor something for hog dogs?
Right. Yeah.
But now we support them 100%. Next weekend, after we do our award ceremony this weekend, the next weekend they're going to hold a entry for $100,000 hunt right here at the store. So like I said,
that's awesome.
We support them and they support us. That's what it's about.
Yes, sir.
It shouldn't be all that bull. Just
right. Yes, sir. Me and Cody actually, I think it was Cody that was talking about it. Talking about how social media is like the only reason that I even know all of you guys. That I've become friends and hung out with all you guys. Kevin, you, Nate, Rodney, Ryan Carter.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't know any of you guys and wouldn't have any of the stories and lies to tell about one another. But in the same token, as social media is also like pretty divisive too, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. But I also think, like you said, I think it's done a lot of vape pen, and I mean just a little bit that I know about the vape pen. I think it's definitely brought. I think Ryan and Carter have done an awesome job as far as like
without a doubt,
kind of bringing and connecting. I mean, I know that when we went to Louisiana, we all went over there. I mean, shoot, they had brought kind of
there were so many people.
I mean, with that picture that we got, that one picture that we got, I think there's probably 25 people in that picture from
5-6 different states.
I was going to say 5 or 6 different states at least.
Yeah.
And everybody was all there, kind of commonly because we all knew Ryan and Carter.
Yeah, and that's what it was like. Everybody kind of that was how everybody met each other. Was through Ryan and Carter. What they done when I first took notice to them, I laughed a little bit and I was like, well, this ain't gonna last very long. And then once I got noticed, I started paying attention. I was like, well, they're showing the real side of it too. So I was
they shoot the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That's right. And so it was like, oh, this is awesome. This is fun. And of course, there's some people that didn't like it, but at the same time, I think it's done probably more for the hog dog community than anything else has. Yes. I think the American Hoggers TV show produced more hog hunters than anything ever.
Yes.
All right, because before that, like I didn't know but just 1 or 2. After that, I knew a bunch. All right, so between there and Carter and Ryan, there's pretty much nothing. And then when Carter and Ryan, I mean, there's little stuff here and there, but when Carter and Ryan, when Boars N Broads got their stuff started and really started going, they took a younger generation and pulled them up.
Yes.
There's so many. We were in Oklahoma. What was it, last year before last? And there were so many 16 to 20-year-old kids out there with cur dogs. It was ridiculous. And but before that, a lot of them, it wasn't cool to even do it. So nobody even knew who they were. And now it's like these guys, they're doing the deal for real. Like they have serious dogs. They catch big hogs. They manage properties, and they're just young. And so, like you said, they have done so much for it. And I think a lot of that they do shows everybody that it's okay if your dog messes up, or if you mess up, or if you do something silly, or if you do something stupid. Hey, it's life. We all do it. Instead of just having this one thing right here where it shows everything is perfect, because it's not.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's not.
That's exactly right. That is one thing just continuing on talking about social media, man, I think a lot of people get caught up in comparing their dogs or themselves or you know, whatever it is that they're comparing in life, they're comparing it to somebody's very best. And they're comparing their everyday life to somebody's very best. You know, it took that guy a week to catch that one hog that he posted. And now because you had a bad day in the woods, you know, it's easy to get caught up. And I mean, I'm guilty of it myself, you know, just looking at a post on social media, whether it be about hunting or not, being like, oh man, I could have done, you know, I need to do better. Like I should be at that level, or I should have dogs that good, or, you know, whatever the case is. It's easy to get caught up in that social media trap. And,
I agree, because I was around before social media, and once it started, I was like, it was fun, because like you could be somebody that you're not.
Oh yeah.
You could be whoever you wanted to be.
Easy.
It
don't take much.
And a lot of people, that's what social media is for them. It's their dream world.
Mm-hmm.
They have it all going right there, and in reality, it's not like that. I've told a lot of people, I'm like, dude, there's a lot of folks that they think, and they've said it to me. You know, they're like, oh, no, I know you got all this and you got that and you got money, you do all this. No, I don't, dude. I work nonstop all the time. I'm broke all the time. my house is falling apart. My truck's broke down all the time, but I'm hunting. You know, I'm gonna run my dogs all I can. And that's the truth, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, don't get me wrong. I wish it was the other way around.
Oh yeah.
There's been times where I've had a little bit of money, but there's also times where I've had a little bit of money. Like I don't have money. Like actually, I don't. I was gonna see if you send me $20. Like I don't have no money.
Man, I was actually gonna try to invoice y'all after this was all said and done. Be like, man, y'all ate up some of my time.
Yeah, like we're gonna have to upcharge it.
I'm gonna see how much I can milk this thing for. I'm gonna need at least
outdoor services, $50 an hour.
Yeah, man. I'm shooting bad this week. I don't know if I'm gonna make the light bill.
Hey, dude, I'm gonna tell you, it's and there's so many people out there that will spend what they don't have to try to be something that they're not. And that bothers me. It really does. I'm like, dude, you're a grown man and you're going and doing all this stuff, and like either you need to have a goal in mind and working towards something to be in debt for that, or you don't need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't borrow a bunch of money just so you can go over here and hang out. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, I know people that do that.
I think we all do. I think we all do. That's just, I think the world we live in now is people kind of keep up with, I guess, the Joneses or whoever it is you want to be keeping up with.
That's right.
They try to think we're all running the same race, and it's like, no, we all got our own race. I hope you win too.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, and that's the attitude that you wish everybody had, is, you know, that like we all trying to win the same, you know, we don't get but one shot at this thing. Let's all run it together and try to win it. You know, we all win in our own ways. It ain't like it's a competition.
Yeah.
But
that's what I tell everybody. It's like we're all in competition, but we're all on the same team.
That's it.
You know, I'm not going to degrade myself or hurt somebody to make myself look better, when all I got to do is just we can all work together as much as possible, and come out better. You know, I preach this all the time, like constantly, the unity part. And for a long time, I was a hermit. Like I would nobody going with me. I didn't take nobody. It was just me, and most of the time it was me and Nate and Joe. That was it.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I was like, well, man, if I don't give anybody a chance, you know, then how? Because I became the older guy that didn't want to help nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the older guys, all they do is piss and moan about the younger guys that, well, they don't know nothing, or they're doing this wrong, or blah, blah, blah. Well, what did you do to help?
Yeah.
So then I realized, I opened my mouth, and I'm like, now all I'm doing is talking. I was like, I had to open up my mind and really sit down and reflect on myself.
Yeah.
And to see, what am I really doing to help this? I can talk about helping the hog dog community or the dog hunting community or whatever. But what am I doing? Talking's one thing. Well, what are you doing? Now I'm trying to do something through talking, and it's working.
Oh, I think it is for sure.
I think it is for sure. It's caught on. We get a lot of feedback. We get a lot of help from a lot of people. Having guests on and having somebody like yourself that wants to, take your time and sit and talk with us about the things that we all enjoy. I mean, we can't do it without that.
Oh no! And it's like when we recorded that episode with Braxton Sultan. Dad and I talked about this the other day on the roof, and I was like, I said when Braxton told us that we were his mentors, that we were the ones that helped him the most, and we weren't even physically present, and we didn't even personally know him at that point. I was like, okay, mission accomplished with the podcast. Yeah. I don't care if there's any other bit of success to it. The mission was accomplished, was to get the knowledge out there and to help the people that needed to be helped.
In the past year, I probably got a couple hundred messages about, or somebody thanking me about what we're, how we helped them. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, so-and-so was on your podcast and they said do this and we tried it and it worked. Or it's something that me or Nate said or something that, Connor's going to say or whoever. And I was like, I didn't realize it would have that kind of an impact.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And one guy was in New Zealand. I was like, okay.
No kidding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like we have listeners the whole world. How many countries now? I don't know. 40 something.
Yeah, 40 something.
Yeah. Seriously?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, like for real.
There's nothing. Okay.
Well, I'm going.
Now you can get nervous.
I know.
Then we got listeners
I ain't
in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
I'm not nervous, but I'm definitely going back to the message I sent earlier. I definitely don't deserve to be here if you got people listening in New Zealand.
Dude. That's some of our biggest listeners is Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Where it was Hong Kong, wasn't it, or Korea or something?
We'll get
Kim Jong Un might have been listening to us about his hot dog.
We'll get a few from Japan randomly.
Yeah, Japan. Some Japanese.
A lot of it's going to be Europe outside of Australia and like New Zealand. Like I'd say probably a fifth to 10th on average per episode is probably going to be other countries.
Yep.
And so
they throw down in Australia though, man. Them dogs are like that. They get down with the hogs in Australia.
Well,
and we want to expand to that.
Yeah, I was going to say hopefully by next year we're going to have. I'm going to try to put together. I'm wanting to do like 4 teams, USA against 4 teams, Australia and New Zealand.
Oh, dude, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, because it's all
that
virtual.
Would be awesome.
It's all virtual. And we can make it happen.
That would be pretty cool there. Yeah,
but
that
it's
would be pretty dang cool.
I got to be careful who I tell and what I say because somebody else will jump on it.
Oh yeah.
We've dealt with that quite a bit.
Well, the difference is like you guys have the connections to be able to actually, put something like that together and get a crew of people that are willing to follow you guys and actually use y'all's system, the Big Board Score, and use y'all's weighing, videoing, and all the things that y'all have already put into place. You guys have already kind of went through the headache of figuring out what works and what don't work, where somebody else right now, they'd be starting from the ground up trying to catch up.
Yeah.
So you guys do have that going for you.
Yeah. That's another thing is like doing stuff like that. I'm not going to say like being nervous because I don't know that I ain't going to say I really get nervous about much, but there's sometimes I'm hesitant because it's like, well, what if this works? What then?
Yeah.
That it's not the part of the failure part. It's like if it's going to fail, it's like, oh, well, damn, what if it works? What do I do now?
What if it works? What if it's work? What if it works way too good and we ain't prepared for all the?
Yes, like I did.
Yeah. I don't have any expectations when I do anything. I just like, we'll see what happens.
I remember y'all was right. Luke started riding my middle son started riding a 4-wheeler a lot. He was real little. I opened up a motocross track. And like for real, just one day I was like, hell, let's open one up. Like what? Like, yeah. Well, the first weekend that we were going to be open, I was like, well, what if this works out pretty good? And I said, we weren't going to open till like noon or 10 that morning. I was at a job and the county sheriff called me, county police department. And he said, you need to get up here. Something's happening up here at your property. I'm like, what's going on? And there was a line of cars. Like, we were not prepared. It was like, oh my, wow.
Oh, people
That's the
came.
definition.
This was different.
That's the definition of all in, though. Like, my son started riding a puller, so I opened a motocross track.
Hey, dude, you can ask anybody. Like, and I'm telling you, when I say I opened it, you know how much money I had? All joking aside, I had $325. That's how much money I had at the time. I said,
And an old skid steer with some open property.
Actually,
6 kids with rakes and shovels.
rakes and shovels built the first set.
Oh, no.
Let me tell you,
Dude,
that
I'm dead
flat,
serious.
that flat top
I
right there.
had a tractor.
Yeah,
we had a tractor, but I got an old skid steer. Jerry brought Nathan Perry.
Yeah.
He wanted to come over and let his kids, ride on the track, and they didn't live that far from me. And he told me, he's like, man, I got a piece of equipment I'll bring over here, and we can, if you'll let me and the kids come over, blah blah blah. I was like, yeah. So we traded it all out. And I've done this stuff like this, man. Like, it's just, that's like when we opened the store. We were talking one day, and I was like, okay, that's what we'll do tomorrow. And it's
from the time we decided to
it was
open
30 days.
It was, yeah.
Really?
If that.
Wasn't it? Yeah, I don't think it was full 30 days.
I was like, well, when do you want to? I was like, pick a date. And he's like, August 6th. And I was like, well, I think it's like July 17th.
Yeah, and we
So,
opened. We were open.
Better get this son-bitch going.
Yeah, and we did it. Like, it was tough. It's still tough.
We have little to no sense.
Yeah,
quite
I'm
frankly.
crazy.
Oh, yeah. But that's the kind of attitude you got to have, though, man. Like, to make it and to be successful is to just kind of give it an all-in effort, and all-in,
I will ram my face into your fist until I break your hands. That's the mentality I have. It's like,
you're gonna get tired of punching me.
Yeah, you'll quit before I will. And I've told people that, and they're like, I don't know about that. When we were in Abbeville, those young guys that were there, he was like, why don't you come down here and hunt with us? And he was like, we'll go slow so you can keep up. I turned around, like, dude, that offended me. It offended me. I turned around and looked at him. I said, listen here, buddy, I'm going to tell you something. I said, we can take off running right now. I said, and I will die before you beat me.
Uh-huh.
I might literally have a heart attack and die for real. But I promise you, I'm not going to quit.
Right.
I will not.
Man,
quit.
ain't nobody said we had to race fair neither. I might trip your ass off the line.
Exactly. I might stab you, shoot you in the foot, something like, you know what I'm saying?
There's that's the all-in attitude again.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'll trip you. Joey's like, I'll shoot you.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying, like we were talking about earlier, is like, if somebody else having a little competition, like Nate said, he was like, well, you got to show me you're better than me. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to catch you before you get there, bro. And you ain't coming. Oh, man. I tell you. You said, when we talked earlier, you said you had a question.
Yeah. So
you didn't tell me the question, so I can't be prepared either. So,
well, I told you I would have, but anyway,
I didn't want to.
So my question was, because I listen to y'all's podcast stuff and just hearing, some people kind of bounce questions off y'all that get a little like more drawn out, I guess, and get a pretty good response. So I figured I was thinking about it. I was like, what's a good question I could ask them? And I don't know, somebody may have already asked it on the podcast, but so what would y'all both say is, and there's a lot of things that go into making the decision, but when or what things do you consider when making a decision on whether a dog stays or has to go? And when I say that vaguely, like, however the means is, whether he goes and finds him a new home or whatever.
Oh, no, he's going somewhere, all right.
Well, yeah, I hear you.
That's the reality of it. We talked about that last night with Jeremy Gardner. My take on it, and then what Nate can do his.
Okay. And like I say, I mean, it could run out because there's a lot of things that go into making that decision, but just a couple things that y'all would say you taken.
So
well, no, I mean, here's I'm gonna put it down like this. When I first started hunting, I had zero patience. The first dog I had was probably the best dog I've ever owned. Literally, like one of the best. So that's what I based it off of.
Okay.
Everything I had at that time it started very early. And when I say started very early, I was running a lot of the York Terriers. I run a lot of the Jags or Jag crosses. Jag and Bird dogs. Clay Austin, Aaron Schenkel, Adam Brown, Jeremy Gilliland, all these guys, we all hunted together, and everybody was crossing dogs. And at a year old, every dog we had was smoking it.
Yeah.
Every single time. Most of them didn't make it to 2 years old, though, for real. Like, I mean, if a dog made it past 2 years old, it was a phenom. So that was, so if that dog at 6 months old wasn't already rolling, it was gone. But then I realized that, you know, how many have I culled that could have been great if I give them a little more time? I talked to a bulldog man, and he told me, he said, because I come from a game dog background, he was like, would you take a dog at 6 months old and ask it to do what a 2-year-old dog would do? I was like, well, no. He was like, well, that's what you're doing. And it was all
pretty good take.
It was all the sense in the world. And so I literally stopped doing anything. I wouldn't even mess with the dog at all. I got on a kick, for probably 5 years, 4 or 5 years. It had to be at least that long, where I would not even mess with a dog hardly at all. I'd show them something when they were 6, 8 months old, see if they're interested. I'd put them up till they were a year old. Then I'd mess with them just a little. And then at 18 months old, we would start. And this is how it worked. At 18 months old, between 16 and 18 months, I would go hunting that day, and I would take 2 dogs. And these were dogs that I bred up and came from stock that I had. And we would catch anywhere from 1 to 5 hogs that day with those dogs who had never left the yard, who had only seen anything one time.
Really?
Yes. You know how many I culled? Not a damn one.
Yeah.
And that is a fact. But how many people have that long? Because all the headache,
these
was
are
a
rougher dogs too.
Yeah, they were all rough
they're
dogs.
Not bay dogs.
No.
Curs.
None of these were. These were killers. All right, so those were a different breed of dog.
Yeah.
You could do that with those. But at the same time, we had the same success with the way we were doing it to begin with. So it's like there really was no difference. No. Now that we've changed in the past several years to a looser, which I had looser dogs in the beginning, some of them, but they were already good. So to get to where we want to be now, we kind of go in the middle, I guess you'd say. My outlook on it is, okay, they're a year old and they're not doing nothing. If they're not doing just absolutely nothing, then they ain't
got it.
They ain't got it. Some of them at 6 months old are doing it all. Some of them at a year old, they're, like I said, they're not doing nothing. So that's kind of my take on it. Nate has 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah,
pretty much. You tell them how you.
So with me personally, I try to let the dog tell me what it's gonna do. The problem is, them motherfuckers don't speak English, and so it is very difficult to be like, okay, well, am I pushing this dog too hard? And I've tested dogs as early as 3 and 4 months, and then, like Dad said, we've waited as long until 18 months
before doing anything,
and have seen the same outcome again and again, over and over. That it's up to the dog, and that dog either has it or he don't.
Yep.
Now, what day he wakes up and decides I got it depends on the dog, and some of them never wake up, and those are the ones that don't got it. So, in my feelings, anything that I do with a dog before he's a year old, say like Eminem, for example, put him in a bay pen 3 months old, sees first pig ever, put him in there by himself, he starts baying it. Okay, let him bay 30, 40 seconds, pull him out. Wait another month, put him back in there, he bays again. And I do that basically until he's 10 months old. And I'm like, okay, we'll start taking him hunting. Take him hunting, and he starts hunting. All right. Even though he's done all this great shit up until he's a year old, that holds no weight to me. Absolutely not. None of that shit counts until he's a year old. And none of it is going to be a point until he's 2. Because it doesn't matter if he did it at 10 months. He needs to do it at 2. Yep. He needs to do it at 4. He needs to do it at 6. Because that's when it counts. That's when he's got his mind and not just, I'm excited. And so after, okay, they're a year old. Well, they need to start doing something because the part of our breeding program is to turn on fast, to develop and to be ready at a earlier age, not a premature.
Independently.
Yes.
Not going with other dogs.
They need to have it. Now, and when I say they got it, they have the willingness to engage game. And that's what I mean when I say they got it. They have that hunt. They want to hunt something because they got to at least do that. Because if they don't do that, then they're not worth a piss to anyone.
Yep. Yeah, as a hunting dog, they're not going to do any good.
And so from there, okay, dog's 12 months old, 13 months old. He has never done anything. Finally get him in the pig. He strikes up. Okay, now we start taking him hunting. Okay, he don't cast. He don't road. He only walk hunts. Okay, well, dog's not going to work out for me. I'll give him to somebody that walk hunts or sell him to somebody that walk hunts. And so basically just kind of develop the dog to the dog because at the end of the day, you're a team. And they're probably not going to want to do stuff they don't want to do or they don't have the natural inclination to do. And so you were spinning your tires in the mud. You're asking for nothing. It's like, well, my dog don't cast. Okay, go get some dogs out of bloodlines that cast then. You'll probably get some that cast.
Yeah.
There's been people breeding up dogs for hundreds of years at this point for a damn reason. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you got to do your work.
Yeah. Now you can, like I said, and on that same note, like you're talking about people that's done it for years and years. I'm one of those. I never want to be like I'm going to reinvent the wheel, but I'm going to take and make a better tire.
Yeah.
That's my thing. And I've had I've took the pains of putting over a decade into breeding a breed to making a breed in itself. I mean, like to making a full breed. And to have that kind of time and effort and patience with it, it's not everybody can do that. And that doesn't mean I'm special. It might mean I'm special ed. But like it takes a lot just to have 20 dogs and 20 of them are great. All of them. They're just phenomenal dogs. But then you cross those dogs and you'll have a whole litter that comes out good. Then you'll have a whole litter that doesn't do nothing. Then you'll have a whole litter where there's one that's great. Yeah. And like we talked to Jeremy last night, there's great ones, then there's good ones. I've got 20 great ones. Well, why don't I just hunt them dogs? Because I'm trying to be able to produce a great one. Because all these great ones came from a bloodline that somebody already had that was established or whatever. It came from something that was already there. But as far as how long you give a dog, I think that's each individual and what the goals they have. Like we were talking about what's the end goal? Our end goal is to have, like we got several different packs of dogs. Yeah. I might not have a dog that can, one or two dogs that can hunt everywhere in the world, but I've got enough dogs I can hunt everywhere in the world. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's true.
No.
It's 100% true. You can go clip any dog on that yard from the youngest ones to the oldest ones, and they'll all go to work. Right now, every one of them.
You just got to put them in the situations that it takes for them to succeed. Set them up for success.
When we like with M&M last summer, young dog, we carry him hunting. We try to set him up for success. We have hogs on camera. We know the hogs were there. We pull up there. We don't turn another dog loose, just him by himself. And he goes out. He strikes the hogs. He bays the hogs. We pull up around there, and I make the hogs break. So now he's got to run these hogs. And the whole time everybody's sitting there, they're like, well, we got these other dogs in the box. Put it to him. It ain't got nothing to do with catching a hog. It has zero to do with catching the hog. Now I got this dog has to show me what he's got. He's not even my dog. He's Nate's dog. But by doing that, what did it take? The third trip?
Yeah.
He was the lead dog, like he was. And then about the time we got him going, here comes deer season. And so we had to set him up. And it was like literally straight out of the box this year. If he goes with females, of course he's going on 2 years old now. He's has that issue a little bit. But like the first hunt or two, it was like he forgot everything.
Oh yeah.
But now, like the other day, he was smoking. He's winding, rigging, ready to roll.
Oh yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I don't know what I was doing.
But I don't know, man. With young dogs, I don't like to put them with a bunch of older dogs to me too. I don't want a me too dog.
You got to let the dog develop.
Yeah.
It's like how many times?
It's lazy. I tell people all the time, and I know I'll catch a bunch of flack for that by some people, but if you have dogs, if you've got 6 pups that are 10 months old and you're going hunting, take those pups, take 1 or 2 of them, walk them around, put them inside, or whatever you want to do. You know, if you road hunt, however you do it, but take them and let them stumble up on one. Anybody can trap one and let them bark at it in a cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you already know what your grown dog is going to do.
Exactly. And you got a grown dog that's going to go out there. Well, yeah, you should find a hog.
And I feel like you should take a young dog on hunts where you know it's going to be dry. Because that's
make them hunt.
Because you're not going to have pigs every time.
Yep.
I think it's just super unrealistic to always set your dog up to have game at the end of the track every time.
Now, all those other methods will work.
Oh, yeah.
Like putting them with the older dogs, letting them just continually see one in a trap or whatever at the house. I feel like you already gave the dog the reward. Like we had a pig in a trap, and Rodney had I think it was BB, and she was acting shy, and he wouldn't let her bark at, and that's fine, no problem. I put my dogs up. He was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I don't want him to do it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you know, because it's 2 different methods.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, I'm not saying this one don't work. It doesn't work for me. I don't want to make it easy for the dog. You know?
Yeah.
I want the dog to have to work.
Me and Justin Becker, we went and hunted one of my properties. I guess it was a week or 2 ago now, and we didn't bring any grown. He asked me what dogs I was bringing, and I kind of changed my game plan before I left the house, and didn't really tell him. And I told him preemptively, you know, bring your young dogs, and this will be a good spot. We're going to be on hogs. I mean, it won't be very hard to find them. And so I right before I left the house, like, you know what, I'm not going to bring the older dog. I'm going to leave them here, make a little extra room, and bring a couple more young dogs. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up showing up. And the oldest dog there was Preacher, my bulldog, and the youngest dog there was, I think, 7 months old.
Yeah. And
we had anything from a year down to 7 months. That was the best we had. And like I say, it wasn't long. We found a few hogs walking around and put puppies behind them. And that was the biggest headache that I think I've had in the last 6 months, was running nothing but year-old dogs around in a circle all day long. Mm-hmm. We ran the same, I don't know, 5 or 6 hogs around in a circle all day long. And that I think we seen with our own eyes, I think we said it was 7 because we were trying to count the piglets.
Yeah. And
seen 7 and caught 1 in about 4 hours, and had 4 hours of driving tied up in the trip.
That's the difference. That's the difference in dog men and then people who just got some hog dogs. That's why dog men and dog women will stay out there and let that dog work. It has zero to do with catching the hog when you have young dogs.
Oh yeah, it's like you think Babe Ruth was just a great hitter the first time he ever went and swung a bat. You go and hit.
That's the thing. You got to do it. The older I get, the more I want to do it. Like the more I'm like, look, I would take mine to where there's absolutely no hogs ever, and hunt them a couple of times. Yeah. You know, just to see how they hunt. Yeah, maybe they'll run a deer. Maybe they'll find an armadillo. Let me see what they're doing. Then when you take them, like we were talking about having a big population of pigs, that's why when we carried them down there to where we were hunting, and there's pigs running everywhere, we knock out 15 or 20 in a couple of hours, a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that's if the pigs are there, but those dogs they're so used to beating the bushes. And like most of my dogs are not like real long range dogs. I've got some that are, I've got a couple, but like I said, we're talking about different styles of dogs as well. What main ones I'm talking about is the ones that work for me. This might not work for everybody else, and I want to make sure that people understand that's listening. Is I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong. I'm saying what I'm doing works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if that dog is a year old and it ain't doing nothing at all or showing any interest, well, man, I don't know. It might not be.
It might not be the dog.
Might not be the dog.
Make somebody else a house dog and they get it fixed.
And then again, at 18 months old, that dog might crank up and that'll be great for that person who's got him now.
Oh yeah, and if somebody wants to wait that long, more power to them.
And I've had people. They're like, man, I don't mind. It's going to be 6 months before I can hunt. Well, here, take this dog. He's bred right. If he wakes it, that's fine. Generally, they're not going to ever leave.
I just haven't seen any of the ones that we waited super long that started late.
That did any better?
Yeah, they overall they weren't any better. And it's like, well, why would I just wait till they're 2 years old for them just to do anything?
Well, that's what I was saying a while ago. It's like, how long I put in for all them dogs in. Yeah, we had one or two that was like, the dog King and Hank. Hank was dead 3 years old before he really got going.
Oh yeah,
but
he would engage a pig though. He would engage no matter what.
But like I said, he didn't really want to hunt. But at the same time,
but he was interested. He just wasn't on fire. He wasn't really just burning the woods down.
Yeah, and these are, like I said, and these are all rougher dogs too. But at the same time, it was like they'll cast, they'll sling and get out of the country, and that's really not what you need where we hunt, because if they get over in these hills and they're 1.5 miles deep and they're hung on something and you got to get there and there's no access and you got to hike in, and by that time it's a bad deal.
Yeah.
So that's why we went to a different style dog.
Same way here.
Yeah.
If one gets out of pocket, and when I say out of pocket, it can be. Oh yeah. It can be 500 yards out of pocket, but it's just so thick. It takes a long time to crawl 500 yards.
Yeah. Like I said, Sunday I was doing that, and I stopped. I said, I'm not fixing it. And I literally said it. I said, I'm not Connor and Cody. I'm not doing this gallberry rush. I called it the gallberry crawl. I said, I'll go around here and find me another road. And luckily there was another road. If there hadn't been one, yes, I would have crawled to my dog. I would.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But, man, I'm glad you asked that question. That got me a little fired up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I probably should have asked it earlier where we had more time to elaborate on it. But
that's cool. Ain't no big deal.
But yeah, and like I say, it's kind of a real subjective thing, and I figured it would be one that kind of could get opinionated, so figured I'd ask it and then kind of get people's brains ticking anyway.
Yeah. Well, man, that's awesome. We
how long have we been at this thing now?
I was going to say we're about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours since we started recording.
Yeah.
Or when you called it, we probably talked 15 minutes before that. But if you got anything else you want to add to it, or
not off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, at any time, all you got to do is holler, and we'll do it again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shoot.
And
I don't mind.
And so, like I said, Nate's gonna put the link to your business,
plug you out,
so that way people can get in touch with you. And I'm really, really proud to know you. I'm dead serious. I ain't saying it because we're just on this. I really am, because you're, like I said, you're one of the nicest people I've ever met. You're very respectful, very, very respectful, and just the world needs a whole lot more Connors.
Oh yeah, thanks for putting a good look on hog hunters.
Yeah, I'm serious. It's the truth. Like you and Cody
thanks for trying.
Like that. Dude.
Thanks for the effort. We
I wish it wasn't
so much in this community.
I'd go down there I'd come down there. Y'all be running me off. You'd be like, look, you got to go home.
I hear you. I appreciate it, man. It really does mean a lot coming from you guys. I guess like you said, Braxton said, I look up to a lot of guys. Like I say, I hadn't been doing this very long, so not compared to most folks. I looked up to a lot of folks that I've been fortunate enough to meet and been blessed enough to become good friends with. So I appreciate the kind words. It means a lot.
No problem, man. We appreciate you being on here. Thank you for being our guest. Like I said, I think it was a good segment. we got a lot of information out there and some good conversation.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Anytime, buddy.
All right, Connor. We appreciate you, man, and we'll be seeing you before too long, brother.
Okay, buddy. Anytime. Y'all know y'all are welcome.
All right,
Yes,
my
sir.
man. We'll see you.
See you, buddy.
All right,
See
bye.
you, bud.
All right, that was Mr. Connor, man. That dude, I'm telling y'all, one of the nicest guys ever, for real. He's very, very humble. And him and Cody both are, you know.
Oh, yeah.
They're good. They're good guys. Really blessed to get to know people like this, and through, like we were talking about, through the social media and through doing this podcast and the whole Dixie Dogger thing that we've been doing. And like it started out, that was the kennel name. That was my kennel name 15, 18 years ago, however, I don't even know, whenever. And then it got to where it was kind of growing into where we were taking people hunting and doing all this stuff. And now they're like, I'm honestly, it's to the point where it's like the realization is setting in to where it's like living the dream.
Yeah.
If I made money doing it, I don't know that it would be any better. It would have to be a little better, but like just being able to do this, you know, and doing it with my son here, being able to live life like this, dude, y'all guys have no idea how great it is. I got a life that I wish a lot of people could just experience some of the stuff I do, and that's something. Man, we appreciate y'all. Every one of y'all listening. We're growing. It's getting bigger and bigger every day.
Yes.
And
Appreciate it so much.
like so y'all make sure y'all get in touch with us. We're just everyday people. I ain't gonna say that I'm gonna answer the phone if you call every time,
Because we are everyday people.
I'm busy. I do a lot of stuff, but if you message me or text me or Nate, either one, like we'll get back with you as soon as possible.
Get you on the list.
So y'all make sure to keep your ears open, and for all you guys out there that's driving a tractor and listening to us on the radio, or you guys that's working in the shop listening to us on the radio, you guys that's driving a big truck, for you guys that's out there working, for you girls that's out there working, man, y'all keep holding it down. We appreciate y'all, and until the next time, we out.
Thank you.